There's somebody that wrote me, it's a really nice letter. Blessings to you and the Sangha from southeast of Australia, where, as the world is aware, we are still experiencing catastrophic wildfires. I'm sure most all of us have been watching that over the months. My question is about the root cause of suffering and the root cause of activism or responsive, concerned action for influencing change. I read in some spiritual circles comments about, in quote, drama reactions to crises and buying into current global political events. Can you speak on the fine line or razor's edge of separation between conditioned unawareness and inclusive wholehearted engagement with what is, and even perhaps the spiritual belly force of activism on issues of harm against life? It's a great question. I always even love the writing of it. This is my summed up version of it. I think certainly spiritual realization is characterized by this great paradox. Paradoxes through and through, because it's all inclusive. There is a domain of consciousness of where everything is perfectly okay. And that's a nice place to have access to, that everything is perfectly, eternally okay. And you feel it and you know it, and there's a truthfulness to it, and it relieves so much anxiety and angst and rage. And yet, it's not a final refuge. The complementary other part of that paradox is that you care deeply, that there is an outflow of compassion. You're not hiding in the perfection of things, that actually there's another part where your heart is totally open and the world breaks your heart. It's, the amount of suffering of all beings is just immense, and an open heart will be open to that, and and you'll feel a very deep and profound human compassion for that. It's nice if you have everything is eternally okay, because then you're not overwhelmed by the openness. Openness without the other side is overwhelming. Having the perfection of everything without the open heart is deadening, right? It just kind of like closes you off in your own little cave. But I think, for me anyway, in the more deep, more mature realization, both of these are simultaneously there. So you're not overcome by anxiety and dread and rage and anger, and yet you're very open. You feel very connected to life and to all the beings in life, and you might feel very called to have some positive way of participating. And I think that's the key that I want to end on, is that I don't know whether, I have nothing in me that says everybody should be an activist or nobody should be an activist. All I know is some people are activists, and God bless them that there are, and some people aren't, and okay, God bless them. I do think that if we're going to have some activism, and to be a human being, we're always acting in some way. We are participating. We can't really get out of participating, nor should we. But I think we have to really be honest and be very conscious of where our responses to life are coming from, whether they're activism for global warming or for political situations or for justice or equal rights or whatever they're for, or they're just the next conversation or the next little conflicted thing at your workplace or wherever it is, that we can be motivated. Our activism, our involvement at whatever level can be motivated by outrage, rage, resentment, and who and what we're against. Or it can be motivated by being a positive, beneficial force for what we're for. Because what we're against, if that's basically all it is, we're not helping. It doesn't mean we can't be against things. It means that our againstness really needs to be informed by what we're for, by something constructive. It's like, okay, I'm against global warming, and you can hate the global warmers of the world, which, by the way, are basically all of us to varying degrees. Or you can think, okay, I'm really against global warming, but what can I do to help? Now, what's the positive way to contribute? What can I be for? And that's the part that has the transforming effect. That's the part that can transform your life or the lives around you or society's lives or the world or human beings. That we have to have positive ways of engagement. We have to know not only what we're against, we've got to know what we're for. And the power of what we're for is more constructive, more helpful, and really the only way to really, in the end, address the great issues of humanity. So I think that, it ties into spirituality. It shows us that everything's okay, and that also there's a side to the okayness that's disastrous and will break your heart. Hopefully it breaks it wide open, and then you see what your response is. Just be careful that when your heart breaks open, that it doesn't break and get caught in outrage. Have just enough outrage so it motivates your positive contribution to the world. Then I think we're onto something. Then we can be beneficial forces and presences in the world. And it seems to me that's what the world needs more than anything. There's a lot of outrage out there right now. There's also a lot of really good things taking place. If we could turn a bit more of the outrage into positive engagement, maybe we'd have even more good things happening and to make a difference. So for whatever that's worth, that's my take on a little more full view from the spiritual point of view and from an engaged point of view. Right here, right now, this is a response. I do this as a response to what I see as the suffering of the world. This is one way that I respond to it, that I hope is positive, and I hope contributes something to some people. I'm not worried about how big the contribution is or how small, just that I live it out with everything I have. And that's what I'm responsible for. And I think each of our lives has our own opportunities, our own versions of what feels like a positive engagement. And don't think that anything's too small. Don't think that it always has to be big. So much of life happens in the small things.